So if you're new to doing any of my Craftywafty alongs, I'm Debbie. I'm from Craftywafty, also known as the Chief Craftywafty Doodah person. And you're joining us tonight to make this lovely holiday memory album. And I try to pitch the albums so that they are accessible for everybody, okay? If you're a beginner or if you're advanced, it really doesn't matter. I like to try and do the album so that everybody can sort of dip in and have a go. And hopefully you've all downloaded your lovely holiday memory album cutting and scoring guide. Okay, now you may have received an email to say that there was a correction done on this, and I did put it in one of the comments as well on our Facebook feed, that it's actually page 5. I've changed the gusset frame. So if you've received your email, because you would have placed the order through Craftywafty, you should have been sent a direct email. You can just go in there, click on the download link, and then you can print it off. Okay, so that's the only thing that I have tweaked. It was mainly because I was working on another project with the lovely Teresa today, and we've used the same page, and then I realised that there was an issue with it, so that's why I've gone back and changed it. But you know me, we'll just crack on and do what we can. So please do put on to say hi, hello, where you're from, etc., and I will try and give you a call out as we go through the making of the album. So I think first things first, let's just have a little recap. So we're making the holiday memory album. This album has got 10 pages to it, so it's 5 hinges, 10 pages, which gives you 20 sides to decorate. Okay, and obviously we'll be popping along and we'll be breaking this down. So we're doing this project for over the next 5 weeks. If perchance you miss a couple of weeks, don't panic, because all the lives will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel, so you can go in and watch those as well. Hi Sam, glad you're back. So here I've just done a ribbon closure on here. Now tonight we're going to make the base album itself, the cover. We're going to make the hinge. We're going to talk about the base pages, okay, and we're going to make the front and back pocket for the album, and then we're going to cover pages 1, 2, 3, 4 tonight, okay, and that's what we're aiming to do. And the paper range that I'm going to be using for decorating my album for this one, glad to hear it, Sam, back with a vengeance, she says, I'm going to be using the Summer Porch 49 and Market range. Now this did come out last year, and to be honest, I've had it sat in the back of the craft room for a while, wondering when to use it, and I've now decided I'm going for it with this one. Okay, so it's got some beautiful papers, and we've got this in the shop. You can also get a solids pack as well, plus there is also loads of ephemera bits. I'm not going to go through all of these, we don't have the time for that, but I will just show you the packs I've got. I've got the ephemera bits, I've got chipboard set, and I've got chipboard words. So these are what I'm going to use for decorating my album with. Okay, and those of you that have been with me for a little while know that I never decorate the outside of my album until I've completed it, because of the handling of the album. I like to keep it clean, but I have selected the papers that I'm going to do. So just to give you a quick sneak peek, so this is going to be my album cover, and then that's going to be the back of the album, and then that's going to be my spine, and I'm going to embellish up the front of that as well when we get to it with some of the ephemera bits and pieces. Hi Teresa, just a shout out to Teresa, thank you so much for today. She's been helping me work on one of our next albums that will be coming out later on. So all good for that. So I think what we need to do is really crack on and get started. Okay. Now I always give everybody options, okay, of what you can do as we go through. All right. And can I just say, if God forbid we have a major issue with the internet or the power goes out or anything like that, because now we're coming into the winter, we do tend to get a few more power cuts here that I'm used to. And if that should happen or the internet goes down for whatever reason, I will shift everything into another room and re-upload, and I've now got everything in lovely boxes, so it's just a grab it and go, and then hopefully we'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so let's get cracking then. Those of you who have made albums with me before, I offer you two options of doing your album. You can, well, covering the outside of your album. You can do it using full sheets of black cardstock, or you can use what we call like construction tape. I've heard it called, like, I get mine from the lovely company Cool Cats Craft, so they call it like tiger tape. Other places might use it like picture framing tape and stuff like that. So we are in the process of trying to get this stuff into our shop as well, but shout out to Cool Cats Crafts. Their black tape is lovely. Okay, and with that you would go around all the edges and cover up all the edges and stuff with the black tiger tape, and join these together. But I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way, and we're going to use the paper. So on my instructions it says here 21 inch by 10 inch. Okay, now obviously 12 by 12 papers is what I'm using to cover this up, and I'm literally just going to overlap by ½ an inch, and that should give me almost the 21 inches, and we'll just trim off a bit. So those of you that know what you're doing with this, you can just crack on. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick a bit of red liner tape. Now I do use this quite a lot, but you don't necessarily have to. Double-sided tape or a good strong glue. I quite like to use like bookbinding glue, and that just helps keep everything together nicely. So what I'm doing here is I've just run my red liner tape over there, and I'm just going to pop this over the top of there just so that I make one giant piece of card. I appreciate you can't see some of it because it's off of the screen, but I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. So I'm just going to take this red liner tape off. Oh, move my bin right out the way. Let's bring that back in. There we go. And I do like to use a little bit of glue on my red liner tape, especially when I'm sort of doing fiddly bits like this. Just using a bit of book binding glue then. It just helps to give it, as I call it, a bit of wiggle room. And I'm just going to line that up on the top and the bottom, just to try and get that as straight as I can. There we go. Just going to give that a little burnish. Okay, on both sides, just to make sure that's done. So as you can see, that is one big piece of card. Ta-da! Give it a little dance there. Okay, and if you are joining your card stock together, when you come to put your construction board on, what you need to do is make sure that your join, okay, either falls within the spine area or to the back of your album. Okay, so mine just happens to fall here where the spine bit is, so that's absolutely fine. Now this bit is a little bit bigger, but that's absolutely Okay, so I'm just checking out my thing. So let me just move my construction board over. So I've sort of allowed on there that you get a good inch of clearance come in all the way round your boards. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to stick one down first. Okay, and I'm just going to pop some red liner tape on here if I can find the end. There we go. It's like that happens to me like at Christmas. I don't know about any of you, you know, when you're trying to find the end of the sellotape. Just, you can never find it, and then I end up getting frustrated with it, and there we go. So I'm just putting a bit of red liner tape on, and I will go over this with a bit of the book binding glue as well, but I just want to make sure that this cover sticks nicely to my cover, the black cardstock. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, and then we're just going to come down the middle. Now, I appreciate we are doing this as a crafty wafty along, so if you are crafting along with me and you need me to slow down a bit, or you've got any questions, then please do pop them into the comments. Okay, and then I can sort of, you know, hopefully help you with your questions. Okay, so yeah, so that's good. So I'm just going to, while I've got the tape out, I'm just going to do the same on the other side as well. Now I'm using 9mm here, but we've got 12, and we've even got 25 in the store as well. I think we've been waiting on the delivery. I'm hoping it's come in now. Of the red liner tape, and you get 50 meters on a roll. It doesn't look like 50 meters on here because I've been using it quite a bit recently for a variety of projects that are coming out very soon. So do keep a check out on our Facebook page. But yeah, so we're just going to pop those on like so. Now you could, if you wanted to, put double-sided sheets on here and use them to stick down as well. But if you haven't got the tape, then you can just go with some glue. But I'm just going to pop this on here. And then my spine, I'm just going to come along the bottom here. So we get this all done, and then we can crack on and get our album cover made. There we are. I'm not going right to the edge, I'm just giving it a, there we go. Because I am going to put some glue on here, and that's going to help as well. Okay, so let's just pop that out the way. Let's get, I've hidden my little burnish tool. There we are. Come on, Bernie. Get working. There we are. Just going to make sure the red liner tape is sticking on beautifully. Okay. Right. Now, if you're a little unsure how to sort of go ahead with these and stick these on, then what I suggest is get yourself a little ruler and just line that up in the corner. Now I use these little grids. These are quilting grids, would you believe? But these are great for doing this sort of work. And I can see that I've come up an inch, so I know that that needs to sit there, and I've come in an inch as well. So that will give me my guide. At the end of the day, if you're out by a couple of millimeters, it's really not going to matter. But that's where we're at on that. Okay, so I'm just going to take off the red liner tape. Okay. And then I'm going to add some glue to this, and then I'm going to stick the first one down. Now if you was using construction tape to wrap your edges, you would need to go round 3 sides. Okay, I'm actually bringing out a series of videos which shows you how to do that, so do keep an eye out for those as well. They're coming very soon. Right, a little bit of squeaky glue. Always makes me laugh when I put glue on the red liner tape, so get a little squeaky noise. Sounds like little Mises, something going on. Right, okay, we'll just put the last little bit. Here we go. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to flip that over. I'm going to check my measurements, and I'm now going to just drop that down against my ruler and pop that on there like so. I'm just going to give that a good smooth rub down. Okay, so that should be nicely stuck there. Right, I'm now going to just take that off the screen slightly, so we can now do the next bit, which is our spine. Now, I normally allow about 1/8 of an inch gap, so using my little grid, I can see that I'm still coming up with it, and I can line that up. Okay, now the reason why I allow this gap is obviously to give you room to be able to fold your album covers. Okay, and again we're just going to take the tape off. 1, 2 and 3. Oops, there we go. Let's tuck that in. I'm just going to run the glue. All right, Deborah, I've just seen your message. I'm going to double check. I'll check and see whether it's in. I know we've ordered it, so I'm hoping it's in. It's whether Karen, bless her heart, has put it on the shop. That's a 9mm red liner tape. Okay, so I'm just lining that up, and I'm just dropping this down, and that leaving that 1/8 of an inch. Like so, and that's stuck down beautifully on there. And now I'm just going to shunt it along a little bit further, and I'm going to add the last one. Now you'll probably notice that when I put the last one on, I have got a little bit more of the tape of the card here. I will just trim that off down to 1 inch once I've stuck this one on. It's always best to have too much than not enough. Okay. And actually 1 inch all the way round is giving plenty of wiggle room. So, oops, can't get my nails under that one. Right, there we go. 2, 3, 4, and final one, 5. There we go. Right, tuck that in there. Again, a little bit of glue. It's going to squeaky glue again. Sorry, I know. I sound really childish, but it does make me laugh. It's squeaky. Here we go. And the last bit. And just a little bit of glue on there. Okay. And here we go. It is our last little bit. So I'm just going to flip that over. And again, I'm just allowing 1/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to drop that down like so. And I'm using this as my straightener, almost. Just make sure that that is sitting. There we go. All right. And as you can see, I've got a little bit left over there, so I'm going to just trim that down. Let me get my big ruler out. There we go. I'm just going to take it from the edge of there, and then I'm just going to run that down like so. Okay. Right, so we've got our cover on the outside. Okay, Give that a lovely smooth rub. Make sure that that's all stuck, like so. It's very therapeutic, this. Okay, right, we're now going to flip that over. And what I like to do is, with my burnish tool, is I'm going to go round the very edge of where the construction board is and the paper, and down these two things. And I'm just going to run this down just to start to stretch the paper fibres, okay, so that when we come to fold it, all right, it's going to help. Okay, so I'm literally just, I'm not putting too much pressure on, but I'm just giving it a little bit of pressure, just to, so like you were scoring on a bit of card. I'm just doing that so it goes round like so. Okay, so that is moving lovely. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go round, oops, tiny little gnat there, go away gnat. Right, I'm going to run some red liner tape all the way round the edging now of our paper, our cover paper. Right, okay, so I'm taking it to the edge, as you can see here. I'm running all the way along, like so, and just to the end, set that off. Okay, I'm going to turn that round and do that on the other side. Just putting one layer on for the moment. Now this is when the thickest red liner tape would work well. Like the 12, and that is always good to use for this sort of job. Okay, all right, so I just want to show you, so that's what I've done. I've just taken it right the way along the length. Okay, and while I've got that there, I'm just going to come along this bottom length as well. Now I'm not too worried if I don't go straight into the corners, because I will be cutting the corners at a diagonal, doing a mitered corner. Okay, and just going to, whoops, pop that on there like so. And now I've done one round, I'm going to go around and do a second round, but I'm going to swap over and use my 12mm on this bit, because that will just sort of help fill that gap in. There you go. I'm just going to run that along so you can see the difference between the two tapes there. Okay, I'll just slip that. We will go around and burnish all of this once we've stuck the tape on. I'm just going to come round on here like so. Now when I designed this album, because I knew that when I'd gone on my holiday I had lots of bits and pieces to put in, like maps and postcards and various other like tickets and bits and pieces that I'd sort of saved, even a couple of paper bags which had some really lovely decor on, that I wanted to make sure that this album had plenty of space to be able to pop those things in. So when we come to do our sides, you'll notice that there are quite a few pockets in order to be able to put that sort of stuff in. Okay, so I just want to measure that. Right, here we go. So I'm just going to come round and I'm going to give that a good burnish all the way round like so, and then that's it almost, well, you can see where it needs the burnish, because it's sort of like the air underneath it sort of disappears. There we are. Okay, Now, one of my little tips that I use is I use a Sharpie pen with a chisel nib on it, and I colour in the corners. Okay, now the reason I do this is that when I fold the paper over, if I haven't cut that at a good enough angle, or I've come a bit in too short, then you're not going to see the construction board underneath it. And I go round and I just do the edge here as well. Okay, so I go all the way round. Okay, and I do that on all 4 corners. It's something that I realise that, like in the past, where I've sort of cut the corners a bit too short. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. And then I realise that I've got construction board showing, and then where the papers that are going to go in on the inside don't cover it, you're left with the construction boards showing. So this is preventative. You know, it's easier to colour it in now than sort of further down the line, really. So we'll just get this bit done. I mean, you don't have to use a Sharpie, any black felt pen will do, but the chisel end just makes it go over smoother and quicker. Whoops, get back in there. Okay, so now we've done our edging all the way round. Okay, we're going to cut our corners. All right, so I'm just going to turn this around this way. So what I'm going to do is with my pair of scissors, or you can use a craft knife, it's up to you, is I'm going to cut across at a diagonal. Okay, so I'm what they call mitering the corner. Okay, but I need to make sure that I leave enough, so I'm not going right up against the corner of my construction board. I'm coming out about the same depth of the construction board and just an extra little bit. So because when it wraps over, I want to make sure that it's going to completely cover that corner. Okay, and right, okay, good question. If you cut it short, can you also take the triangle you have snipped off and place that on the construction board? Yes, you can, and that's a lovely idea, Sam. Absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, we do what we can just to cover up our little, normally we stick a flower or something on it, but yes, you could do that. That's a lovely tip, so thank you for sharing. And the other thing is that you can get those really beautiful metal corners that you can sort of click on the end as well, that sort of protect the corners of your album. So we've got a couple of options there. Oh, I see. Gluing it down, I mean, on the inside. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I see what you mean now, Sam. Right, okay, so I'm going to cut across. And you're cutting through your red liner tape, which means that when you stick that down, that's going to give it a good seal. That's why we took it to the edges. So I'm just going to turn this around and do this on all 4. It's a little bit fiddly because this is quite a big album cover. Okay, and I'm just going to cut that. Oh, that was close. So what Sam is suggesting is that the corner bit you cut off, that you can stick down in that corner to cover up any bits. Good tip. We love a good tip. I keep saying it, funny enough, actually, I was chatting to a friend of mine and we were talking about tips and things like that. And I said, oh, perhaps I should get myself like a little buzzer. So whenever we have a good tip, we hit the little buzzer. But I think that would probably drive some people up the wall, so don't panic. I'm not going to do that. We did think that would be quite funny. Okay, so I'm cutting that across. Okay, and I'm hoping that this is going to work, she says. So before we fold up anything, we're just going to tease the papers around the edge of the construction board. So when we scored it, we've already given it a little bit of life, as it were, to move it. And we're just going to come round on all four sides. I'm just doing the long sides first, and then we're going to come across and do these sides, these smaller sides. There we are. And I'm just going to come and do the other side. Okay, lovely. Right, now we've done that, I always stick my long sides down first. I'm going to sort of try and do this diagonal bit, but it's to try and get it in shot for you. So I'm going to take off my tape and do the long sides first. There we go. Okay. And then what I will do is I then ease these over. So I start off in the middle, and as I'm easing it over, I'm putting a bit of pressure on the paper just to sort of bring that across like so. There we are, and I just tuck that in on that side. I've got a little split there. Okay, not to worry, I can repair that with just a little bit of glue. Must have gone a little bit heavy-handed with my... Okay, right, I'm going to take that off, and then I'm just going to ease that over. Like so, and again, so I always do both the long sides first. Just smooth that down. There we go. Right, and now I've got them down, I'm just going to go along and give them a good burnish all the way along. And I'm just going to put a bit of a crease in where the spine gaps are. Okay, because that is going to help with these folding up. Okay, and then that one. So now you can see why we left that gap. Okay, and now the two smaller ends. Now on the smaller ends, depending on how much, sometimes I have, suppose it's like little ears sort of sticking up, and I'm just going to nip those in with my nail. I'm just going to poke those ends in just slightly. You can see what I've done there. I'm just pushing those in. Okay, and then I'm going to take the tape off and stick that down. There we are. Oh, red liner tape stuck to me. It's so static. Right, okay, and we're just going to fold that over like so. I'm just going to give that a little burnish, and then I'm going to do the same on this end. I'm just going to, where it sticks up just a fraction, I'm just going to tuck that in on there, and then I'm going to peel off the red liner tape like so, and I'm just going to fold that over. Okay, and luckily my cutting means that I didn't need to do the Sharpie pen because it's covered it, but in case you didn't, then obviously it still won't show through. Okay, so there we are. So that is the album cover done. Now what I like to do is just write on here top and bottom. So this is my front as well, front, and that's the top, and that's the back, and that's the top. Okay, it's just that when we start to put pages and other bits and pieces in, it just makes it easier to keep track of it. That is our album cover done. All right, so I'm just going to pop that out the way. Okay, and our next bit that we're going to work on is our hinge. You think that would be hilarious? Right, okay, so next time I'm getting my buzzers out. Okay, you won't be saying that after we've had about 20 of them going off, because you guys always come up with lovely ideas. That's what I love as well about us doing these Craftywafty alongs, because we get to share all our lovely ideas. Okay, the hinge. Right, so the hinge measurements, okay, are written on your lovely instructions. Now, on my instructions, I normally put, when I put like score on the 10-inch side, that's when I mean that you have the 10-inch side at the top. That's what I mean, okay? Let's just take that sticker off because we're not going to need that. Okay, if it said on the 7 1/4 inch side, then I will pop it in like that, but we're doing this on the 10-inch side. Okay. Say what you say, catchphrase. Yeah, absolutely. Right, so we're going to pop that on, and I'm going to go through my measurements here. And so I need to score on the 10-inch side at 1.5 inches. Okay, then 2 inches, then 2.5, then 3 inches, then 3.5, then 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, and then 8.5. So basically you've done 1/2 inches all the way along, and you stop at 8.5. So you're left with a 1.5 inch bit at each end. Okay, right. So let's just pop that out the way. Okay, so on the bumpy side is where I'm going to write with a pencil, so I know which one to put the tape on. Okay, so the very first one, so where you've got this 1.5 inch gap here, this first channel, whatever you want to call it, here in between the score lines, I'm going to put a T, a tape. Okay, then the next one I'm going to put a cross, because I'm not going to put anything on that one. And then I'm going to put a G, which stands for gap. All right, then I'm going to do the same again. T for tape, cross, because I'm not putting anything on there, G for gap. And then we follow that all the way down. T, X, G, T, X, G, T, X. Okay, so with my red liner tape, can everybody see what I've done there? Let me just hold that up and to get that in the light. I think you're all okay with that. Okay, so where I've put the T's is where I'm going to put the tape in between those two score lines. Okay, I'm going to do that all the way down. So I'm just going to pop that in the centre like so. And then I'll come up to the next T. And I'm going to stick that down. And the next one. There we go. Let's cut that. Whoop, come on, come through. Thank you. And the next one. And then finally our last one at the end here. So you should have 5 strips of red liner tape, like so. Okay, just get our little burnish tool. I'm just going to run those along like that. Okay, now then, it's always a little bit tricky trying to work out how to do your folding. Okay, and I was working with lovely Teresa earlier today, and we've sort of come up with a little system really. So the middle one, okay, if I turn this over, the middle one is where that's going to be here. This one here is going to be your mounting. Okay, so when we turn it back let's turn it around. So when we turn it back here, what I'm actually going to do is where I put that tape, I'm now going to fold on the fold it on that way, so it folds over. So when you look at it, that's going to be our mounting, and because that's our mounting, this bit here, this little score line here, is now my valley. So I'm just going to fold that back on itself. So you end up with it looking like that at the moment. Okay, now this next one, okay, is going to be the other half of the here, and that is also going to be a valley. So I'm going to turn that round, and I'm just going to grab that little mounting and I'm going to fold it over. So you're sort of concertina-ing it to some degree. Thank you, Doreen. See, that's a little tip there. Where's my buzzer? I need my buzzer. Okay, all right, so now I'll turn that back. So you end up with the side that's got the tape, the cross side, and then you've got the gap. Okay, so now we come into these 1, 2, 3. So this one again is going, this middle one here is going to be my mountain. So I'm going to fold over onto my mountain. I'm going to crease that, but I've got another little score line there which is going to be my valley, so I need to come back on it like so. And you can see, if you've done it right, that you're going to end up with lots of G's everywhere. Okay, and now I've turned that over and I'm just going to fold that back to crease that other one. So now we've got 2 mountains and 1 gap going on. Okay, so again, we're back to where our tape is. This is going to be our mountain, this score line here. Okay, so I'm going to fold over onto the score line. And don't panic if you fold it the wrong way. You know, at the end of the day, it's not going to hurt, okay? Because once we stick the tape down, it will make it stay where it needs to, okay? So if you find it easier just to go all the way along and almost concertina it, then that's absolutely fine, okay? Please don't stress about this, all right? And then I'm going to just fold that back on there, because once we stick the tape down, it's going to do its job and hold our hinges anyway. Okay, so where were we? So here we are, we've got another bit of tape. That's our valley, so I'm going to fold that. That's our mountain. I'm going to fold back on the valley, and I'm just going to fold that back on itself like so. And then the last one, there's our tape, there's our valley, that our mountain rather, that's going to come over, fold back on the little valley, flip that over, and now I can score that one back. So you should end up with it looking like that. It reminds me a bit of like those Venetian blinds you get, you know, the ones in the shop, and they sort of all joined together like so. Okay, now you've creased your papers, what we're going to do is peel off our red liner tape, and where the crosses are, so where the crosses, that bit is then going to stick to the tape, so that we end up leaving the gap bit free. Okay, so let me just show you on this one. I'm going to peel that off, I'm going to fold that in, and that should just catch nicely like that, that first one. So that's now created our first hinge. Okay, there's my gap, all right, and then on this side here I've got my tape and my cross, so I'm going to peel that off, and I'm going to fold that tape to the cross. Okay, and then when I turn that over, I can now see I've got 2 hinges. Okay, turn it back over again, there's my tape, there's my cross, so I'm going to peel that off, and I'm going to fold it back on itself. Now you can see as we're doing this, we're ending up here with a load of G's coming up Okay, I'm going to take the T, well, it depends which way round you're doing it, or you've got your G's coming there, doesn't matter. But there we go. I'm going to peel that one off, and we're going to push that onto there, and then the last one, oops, the last one, okay, again that T goes to the cross like so. And then if I turn it over, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hinges, 4 gaps and 2 like little wing bits on there. How's everybody doing? Okay. Now, because these hinges are going to be going backwards and forwards, what I do is I fold these all down one way and I give them a good burnish. Going one way. All right, then I flip them so they go all the way back the other way like so, and I give them another good burnish. There we are. All right, and then now that they're done, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can flip this over, and as you can see, all you can see now are the 4 G's, which are the 4 gaps on that side. Okay. Lovely. Right, so now our next bit is to put our red liner tape on the back of here. Now, I have got some of the big stuff. See what I mean? 50 metres. 50, it's a bit, yeah, we'll give it a go. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover these 4 G's at the back there, okay, with tape. So let me just... Right, okay, so I'm going to do 2 at a time, like so. But if you haven't got wide tape like this, then just put a strip of red liner tape or your double-sided tape down. I'm just using the red liner tape on here. Where did the end go? You see, that doesn't matter what size it is, I can never find it. Okay, and I'm just going to run that down. Oh, it's a little bit crinkly, never mind. Okay, I'm just going to run that down like that, like so. Okay, so I'm just using the big tape just on those 4 in the middle. I'm just going to where the G's are, so I'm just going to give that a quick burnish. And then on the outer ones, I'm just going to use my usual tape, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to run one right at the very edge of the 2, I suppose, yeah, wings, if you want to call them, or the side pieces, like so. And then I'm just going to put another one coming in the other side of where that score line was. Okay, and there's a reason for this, because when we attach it to the album, we need to stretch our paper to help it with the fold, because what we don't want to end up with is our album doing what I call butterfly wings. I'll show you what I mean as soon as we get to that bit. Okay, so I'm just going to run that down. There we go, like so, and we're just going to give those a little burnish. Okay, so you should have something looking like this. All right, you could use double-sided sheets again to put on across there, but I just find it's easier with the red liner tape. It gives me more control when I'm sticking this down. Okay. Now, before we put this on, I just wanted to show you that on my album, I punched a little hole through and put a little eyelet through to add a little charm, okay? But you can buy special little charm holders. If I just grab my box of tricks. Oh, goodness me. There we are. My little box of tricks. where you can get these. They're like, I don't really know what the proper name is for them. They're sort of like little charm holders. But basically, you can see you've got like little ring on there, and you've got a nice little bit there, and you've got like little bat wings, as I call them. But basically, like you have like the brass tacks and things like that you would have, you would punch a hole. So I'm not going to do it on this album, but I just wanted to give you the option if you wanted to, is that you would punch a hole through there, pop this in. So just imagine I've put those little things through. Oops. Oh, goodness me, come here. Right, it's a bit tricky now that I've opened them up. So these metal bits would go through, and then you'd splay them out from underneath, and then that gives you somewhere that you can attach little charms and stuff to. All right, so I just wanted to show you these because I think these are a really lovely idea. I mean, I did do it with the ringlet because at the time I didn't have these, but just to show you. And what I would do, what I would suggest is that you put your paper on your spine, okay, your pattern paper on your spine, and poke this right through that and your board so that it comes out the other side, so you can level that flat before you put your hinge on, okay, because then your hinge is going to cover up that mechanism of these two bits here. All right, I'll find out what the proper name for these are, and I'll let you guys know, okay. But they come in different sizes, different colours, but it was just something that I wanted to show you, because then you can attach your little charms. Because when I was in Scotland, I had these got like little lobster clasp on them and that, so I put a little jump ring through so I could hang it off the end of my album, okay. But now that I've found these, I'll probably use these more when I come to sort of doing other albums. So I just wanted to sort of point that out. But the best time to put that on is put your patterned paper on, poke your hole through, push that through, splay those metal bits, and then you're going to stick your hinge on, and then it hides all that mechanism and you won't get to see that. Okay, there we are. We're talking about little charms then. Right, so this is my top and my front and my back. Right, okay. So because I've got my 5 hinges, I'm going to need to make sure that I stick them so that they are in before the spine, where the edge of the spines are, and that they're evenly spaced, okay. So let's just have a look. And as you can see, the reason why we've got the 1.5 inch strip here is that that will then cover the rest of, have I dropped off? Am I still here? Right, I don't know. Am I still with you guys? Can somebody just give me a heads up? Not sure. Hopefully is everybody still there? Please somebody let me know I'm still here. Hello. Okay. Well, it looks like I'm still filming, so I'll carry on. If somebody could give me a little thumbs up to say that they're still out there, that would be great. Oh, you lost me. I don't know what happened there. I'm still here. Thank you. Just I told you it's just really bad in this area at the moment. Okay, oak trees is there as well. Lovely. All right. Where were we? Perfect. So just bear with, because it still shows me that I'm still working on that. So it must be a Facebook thing then, because my iPad is also showing that I'm still on. So I'll just carry on as normal, and then hopefully everybody will get back in and we'll do that. Right, so we're talking hinge. Okay, so as I was saying, so you're going to line up so that your 5 hinges come in between your spine edges here, okay? The 1.5 inch is what we use to sort of help cover the rest of that spine and bridge that gap, and then join it onto the back and the front, okay? And the reason why we just cover these 4 first is that we're going to peel them off first so that we can get them on straight, and we've still got a bit of flexibility. Okay, so I'm just going to peel this off, and I will add a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, thank you for the heads up, by the way, Sam. So I've been sort of carrying on as normal and talking to myself, which is not unusual for me, but there we go. Right, okay, and we're just going to wiggle a bit of glue on there. All right, now you can stand up for this or not, so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to stand up, and I'm just going to line it up so I'm sort of centered where I am. Okay, all right, and I'm gonna, where the glue is, I'm just going to move that over a fraction. Right, okay, I've got it right. I'm just going to stick those gaps down first, like so. So you can see why we do the red liner tape in stages. Okay, all right, because I've still got these bits flapping away. Perfect. And oh goodness me, right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm now going to peel off this inside one, not the edge yet, we're just doing the inside one. We're going to take that off, and I'm going to stick that down, and I'm going to do the same on that side as well. So I'm leaving the edge bit of red liner tape on. Oh goodness me, there we go. Pop that on there, and I'm going to stick that down. Now we've got a little bit of little mini flaps, as it were, and I'm going to get my bone folder, and where we ran in with the bone folder or our burnish tool, I'm now going to run that up that side, what would be the indent of where the spine is. Okay, so I'm running that through, and I'm going to do the same on this side. I'll just lift that up so I can see where it is. There we go. So I'm just going to run that along, because if I didn't do that and I stuck this down, that when it comes to do that, it's going to sort of either buckle, or you're going to end up with what I call butterfly wings. All right, so we're stretching these fibers. Oops, went through then nearly. Right, we're stretching these fibers here. Okay, and now keeping the album nice and flat, I can now peel off that last one, and I can stick that down. Okay, and now that will fold up like so. So let's just give that a burnish like that. There we go, and that's just going to give me that wiggle room. I was a little bit heavy-handed. I've gone cut through that there, but never mind. Okay, and then on this side again, I'm just going to peel off. Now you could add a little bit of glue under here as well if you wanted to. I haven't done that, but you can do. Right, and I'm just going to run that on there, and then if I fold that up like so, and there we are, and we have our album cover and our hinge done, and that's not too bad at all. Okay, so we're going to pop this to one side, because we're not going to need this for a while, because what we do is we decorate and we make up all the pages, then we add the pages right at the end to the album, in case we want to move any pages around. So this can now be tucked away to one side, and we won't need that for the next 3-4 weeks until we're ready to put the pages in. Okay, so let me talk to you about base pages. Okay, so the base page is 7 3/4 by 7 1/4. You need 10 of these. Just going to take that sticker off. All right. And what we do is we score 1/2 inch coming down on the 7 3/4 inch side. So do you remember me saying that that's the 7 3/4 inch side that you put at the top of your scoreboard, and you're scoring down by 1/2 inch. Now I've already gone ahead and done mine. Okay. But a little trick of what I'm going to do, because as we start building the album and when you're cutting out your papers and stuff like that, sometimes it can get a little bit confusing as to where the sides are and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a T at the top, so I know that's the top of the page, and I'm just going to put S1 for side 1. Then I'm going to fold that back, and I'm going to put a T at the top, and that's going to be side 2. T at the top, and then we've got side 3, and I'm going to go through and do this T at the top, side 4, because trust me, when you get all these pages out, you'll suddenly think, hang on a minute, what side am I working on, and what have you. So this is just a little tip. So we've got side 5, and as you can see, I'm folding it like it was a book, these pages. So that was side 5, side 6, and I'm putting a T at the top. T at the top there, side 7. T at the top, side 8. T at the top, side 9. T at the top, side 10. T at the top, side 11. And we'll just carry on going through. T at the top, side 12. T at the top, side 13. T at the top, side 14, wasn't I yet? 14. T at the top, side 15. T at the top, side 16. Yes, 16. T at the top, side 17. T at the top, side 18. T at the top, side 19. And then our last one, T at the top, side 20. Okay, because there will be some pages. Oh, thank you, Doreen. Yes, I'm on a roll tonight with me tips. Yeah, it's just that when you come to put your pockets and your other elements on, and especially when you're making an album this big, okay, that you can lose track of what pages you are working on, etc., and which way round it's going to go. Because trust me, I have put a pocket on this like on side 2, and I thought, oh yes, I'm gluing it that way, and actually I've ended up sticking it upside down. So just to stop and prevent any of that from happening, that's why we've got a T at the top. Obviously these are going to be covered over anyway, and it just helps you work it out. Plus, if you're looking to do colour matching, so when you put these into your album, now if I wanted to colour match this with the inside of my front album, I can do. Okay, and then I come over, and then now I know that side 2 and side 3 will go together. Okay, then I can colour match across if I wanted. All right, so that's your base pages. Okay. Now, I've just realised I have said a little porcupine that we are going to need our album back because we need to do the front covers. Oops. So, I was getting ahead of myself because I'm just so excited because I just want to get on with the pages. That's my trouble. Shall we talk inside cover pockets? Let's do that. We'll get these made, and then we can pop these in out of the way, and then we can put the album to one side. Honestly. I'm just running away with myself. Now, pockets. So for the next couple of pages, all we are going to make are pockets, but we're going to do them in different variations. Okay, so I'm just going to grab let's leave my glue out of the way. So you should have your measurements for your what we call horizontal pockets. Okay. And so we've got the 9-inch. Now, on my pattern, I write score on 3 sides. And I had pointed out to me today that perhaps what I should put is whether it's scoring 3 sides, like 2 on the long side or 2 on the short side. So I've taken that on board, and my next patterns that I put out, I will put on where you're going to put your 1/2-inch sides. Okay, now because this is a pocket that's going to go in the front of our album, I will need to do my score lines on the 2 short sides and 1 long side, because that's where it's going to sit in there. Okay, so moving forward, you see I'm learning as well all the time. It's all these extra little tips and things. So when I say score on 3 sides, so we're going to do the 2 short sides, and that's 1/2 inch on that one, turn it round, 1/2 inch on that one, turn that round, and then 1/2 inch on that side. So you're left with your open bit for your pocket. Okay, and you're going to do that on both pieces. So let's just pop that on there. So we've got 1/2 inch, and then we're going to turn it round. So I will do that on my next patterns. Okay, and then we'll turn that round, because the album we've been working on today, the orientation is slightly different. Okay, and then we can sort that out. So there are our score lines for our pocket. So let's just pop this out of the way for the minute. Now, those of you who have made pockets with me before, you know what's coming. Those of you that haven't, we'll work our way through that. Okay, so where the 3 score lines are, where you've got the little valley bit and you've got the bump on the other side, we're going to fold onto the bubble, okay, or the bump. So you need to put your red line of tape going round those 3 sides. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 on both our pockets. So let's get that done. So here we go. We're going to pop that on like so. Where are my scissors? Snip that there. And then we're going to come along and we're going to do the long one. So you're just putting this red line of tape in where the score lines are. Okay. So then that like little gully, whatever you want to call it, that little space between that there. There we go. Right, so that's one done. I'll just put that there so you can see what I've done. And I'm just going to do the same on this side. So we're just going to pop that in, turn that round. Let's just come along and do that one. Now you notice I haven't quite gone into the corners because we are going to mitre those corners. All right. And we're going to do these. Okay. Well, we're going to snip that off. Right. And now I'm just going to burnish those. Just make sure that they're nice and stuck down. Like so. Okay, and we're just going to do that one. All right. Now, very similar to when we were cutting off and mitering our corners for our album, when we were covering the album, we're going to do it sort of similar to our pockets. But where the 2 score lines cross over, you are going to cut a diagonal line going right across and through that, and with a little wonky bit. I'll explain why. Let me show you on one first, okay? So I'm going to cut to where the 2 score lines cross, okay? And then when I come that way, I'm just going to do a little wonky bit. So I'm not cutting completely straight triangle, okay? And let me do it again on this one. I'm going to cut up to where the score lines cross, and then I'm going to do a little wonky bit and cut that off. And the reason is why is that when we now fold these back onto the bubble, so we've got the red line of tape Now on the other side, you'll notice that these corners will sit a lot flatter because you haven't got so much bulk going on, okay, in the pockets. Okay, so you end up with nice sharp corners, and this will sit a lot flatter. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that to one side, and we're going to repeat on this one. Okay, so again, across to through where those score lines meet, and then we're just going to give it a little wonky bit, and then I'm going to come across to the score lines and give it a little wonky bit. If you haven't given it enough of a wonky bit, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so we're just going to fold those back. I'm going to fold that back, and again I'm just going to give that a little burnish and just make those corners and that nice and sharp. All right, how's everybody doing? I'm just going to have a quick slurp of tea. Right, so back to our album. I know that's my top and my back. Okay, so these are going to sit very snuggly on our covers. Okay, and I am going to take this edge of the pocket up as close as I can to the edge of the album for here, because I want to make sure I've got enough clearance on where that folds over. Okay, now I do appreciate that sometimes when you're scoring, and depending on your scoring tool and your scoring board, sometimes these can come out a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller in terms of when you folded it over. All right, so just so long as you make sure that when you put it on there that it clears that groove there where we're going to fold the album cover, you'll be absolutely fine. Okay, don't panic. I do my decoration of my pattern papers once I've put my pockets on. Okay, and the reason is that when this is stuck, I slide the paper down so it covers up these little flaps here on the inside. So if you're thinking, oh, she hasn't put any paper on the back, that's why. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take the first bit off the bottom one. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of glue, so we've got a little bit of wiggle room. I'm squeaking me squeaking again. Sorry, I know it's childish. I know, I'm sorry, I can't help it. Right, okay, and I'm going to line this up almost to the bottom of the album. I've just come up just a fraction from the bottom. Okay, so let me just show you where I've done. See, you can see I've just come up a fraction from that bottom, but I am pretty close to that edge there, and I come in just in on that bend. All right, now a little tip that I picked up from the lovely Paul Ford is to run a bit of black tape along there so that when you tuck things in, it's got something nice and smooth to run against. So I'm just going to tear this off. If you don't have any black tape or anything like that, a bit of washi tape, that would work just as well. So whatever you've got in your stash will be fine. Okay, and I'm just covering up, oops, I'm just covering up where that edge is, where I stuck down that folded bit, so that now has a nicer, smoother transition in there. But as I am going to put the paper in, well, it depends on how far you're going to bring your pattern paper down. If you're quite frugal, then it's good to do that, but I often not put a whole sheet in, and that's just me. But just to give you that tip. And now we've done and got our base down, we can now put our sides on. So I'm just peeling off peeling off the side bits. Okay, I don't need to put any glue on here because this should just naturally fold in and tuck down, but if you're a little uneasy about putting it down, then obviously put a bit of glue on. Just going to rub that one down, and that one goes on, and that is our pocket done. Okay, fabulous. All right, and then we're just going to repeat on the other side on the back. So I'm just going to take off our tape. Okay, and I'm just going to add a little bit of wiggle glue, so I call it. My little, oh, it's not squeaking, that one. Oh, okay. And again, I'm just going to, now I'm going to try and make sure that I keep it the same sort of distance from the base as I did on the other side. I'm taking that into the corner, moving that over just a fraction. See why you put the glue on. Right, okay. So even though these are, you're not going to have these two together, as it were, because at the moment you can see across, but it just helps that with the eye. I'm going to run a bit more tape along there. Stick that down. Okay, give that a little snip. And now I can put my back covers on. Now, like I said, obviously this album has got lots of pockets in it. So we're just doing these first few pockets just so we can put lots of stuff in them. Okay, right, and I'm just going to run that down, and that's going to come over and sit on there, and we'll just give that a burnish. Right, okay, now we can put this to one side. I was getting a bit carried away with myself, wasn't I? All right, so let's have a little look. So we've got side one, so we're doing side 1 to side 4. All right, now side 1, side 2 and side 4 are all pockets. Okay, side 3 is landscape. I love this. Look at it, it just looks really lovely. So while I've got side 3 here, I'm going to find my side. This is why we've numbered these. Okay, side 1, side 2, side 3. So that is going to go on there. And I have to say that the 49er market stuff is just beautiful quality. You can, I don't know if you can hear the thickness of that card, but that's going to tuck in there. So I'm just going to click that on there, but we're taking page 1, or side 1 and side 2. So I'm just going to tuck there. That's quite nice, gives me a nice little view to look at while we're doing this. All right, and I'll glue that down in a minute. So our side 1, and now as you can see, as I've cut everything out, I've put little stickers on there so I know what my papers are. Another little tip for you if you're prepping up one of my albums. Right, let's get our scoreboard. Now for this one, it says here side 1 vertical pocket, score 1/2 inch on the 3 sides. Okay, so this will be the 2 short sides and 1 long side. Okay, so I'm going to do 1/2 inch, exactly the same as we did with our cover pockets. Okay, nothing different. Okay, and we're going to come down and we're going to do that. All right, the only thing that's different is the measurements of the actual card. Okay, because this card is slightly smaller to fit on the page. All right, so I'm just going to unclip that, and we're just going to do exactly the same as we did before. Red liner tape around the 3. We're going to miter off the corners and we'll attach it to the paper. So let's just prep our pocket ready. Okay, so there we go. Snip that off. Hope everybody's okay out there. Those of you that are crafting along with me, you're probably all busy concentrating, bless you. By the way, with any of our albums, I do encourage everybody to, you know, upload them onto our Facebook page, because it's great to see the albums and how they sort of come to life with lots of other different papers and decoration and stuff like that. So please do let me know and pop those up. Oh, we're getting lots of hearts and thumbs up. That's good. Okay. Right. So again, cutting across to the score lines. And then I'm going to give it a little wonky bit. I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to come again, cut across. And give it a little wonky bit. Now this one, I call this one a vertical pocket, okay? So it's not going like that on the page, it's coming that way, okay? So if I just show you in the main album so you understand. So there's our inside of our album cover, there's our pocket that we've just put on. So page 1, you're doing a vertical pocket coming in like so. And that's how we're going to stick it on. I do love these little Highland cows. They're so cute. Right. Control yourself, Debbie. Okay. So we're just going to fold like we did before on our score lines. So we end up with the tape at the back. I'm just going to give these a little crease. Okay. Like so. So literally our pocket, we're just doing it at a different orientation, okay? Now, this is where the T, the top, comes in handy, and the side one. So this is side one, we know that's the top, but we need to stick it vertical like so, okay? So I'm just going to turn this round on its side. So at the bottom here, I've got my score line, okay? Now this bit here, I've not mentioned to those of you that haven't been with me before, this bit here of your page is what is going to stick to the hinge, okay? So we need to work above that score line, okay? So with this pocket, it's just going to, and I'm just lining it up for measuring, and that's going to literally sit. Let me just hold this up to you so you can see it better. So there's the score line. This vertical pocket is going to come down and sit just above that score line, and it's going to come in just slightly either side of the page, okay? So that's what we're going to do with that. So again, I'm going to take off the red liner tape. So once you know how to make a pocket, then you can you know, sort of crack on with these pockets, which is really handy. So just put a bit of squeaky tape on there, so for a bit of wiggle room on my glue, and I'm just going to line it up, but I do come up just a fraction from that score line because I want that score line to have a good bit of clearance, okay? And again, don't worry about me not putting any patterned paper there, because the paper will go in, because like I said at the other ones, it will slide in and cover up these little lugs here. But I will put some tape going across. So let's just grab my tape. Okay, I'll just take a little bit on there, because again it just helps, and it depends on your how much paper you're putting in. I mean, I put in that we use whole pages of patterned paper, but you might want to cut that down, and then that will just help with that smooth transition. Okay, and now we're just going to peel off these. 1, 2. Okay, and then I'm going to fold those down, just making sure that they're nice and level. And that is our side one. So now, where I've covered up my side one, I'm just going to write side one and still put a T up there for the top. Okay. All right. And that is side one done. Apart from obviously putting your patterned paper on, which we will do later. So side two, we now flip it over. So we've got side two and top. And this is a horizontal pocket, so it's coming across that way. Okay, so here we are, my side 2. So I'm just going to peel that off. And again, we're going to score on the 2 short sides and 1 on the long side. So I'm going to score down there a 1/2 inch. I'm going to come round and I'm going to score down there 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to come down and do that one. Okay. And just the same again, we're literally red liner tape all the way around, and we're going to do exactly the same as we did before. So it's good to have pockets going different ways, because you know you can house different things, which is really good. Oops. Okay. And we're just going to pop that along. Snip that off. There we are. Oops. I'm just going to come across and do the other one. Like so. There we go. And like I said before, across where the score lines are, and a diagonal cut, and then we're going to give it a wonky bit. And then we're going to come along onto the score lines and come a little wonky bit. There we go. All right, and then we're going to fold again on the back of these. It's not quite eat, sleep, repeat, but almost. Okay, and we're going to do that. I'm just going to score these down. Like so. So there's our pocket. Now, obviously I've got that on there. I know that's the top. That's my top. Now, because I've turned the page over, the score line is now, for the hinge bit, is down here on the right hand side. So when I put my pocket on, I need to come to the left of that. Okay, so that will come over like so. All right, leaving that score line clear. Okay. So do remember that, because trust me, I've done it before myself. I've stuck the pocket on thinking it was centred to the page, and then realised I've stuck over my score line for my hinge. Easily done, but that's why we're just sort of pointing that out. Right. Sorry, it's squeaking again. Honestly, what am I like? Right, okay. And now I'm just going to, again, pop that down. Come a little bit off the top of that page. Here we go. I'm going to give that a nice little burnish across there. And again, I'm going to run some tape down there. Okay. So all the pages we've done tonight are quite nice and easy ones. Get you into the swing of this. Okay. And it's a good starting point, really. But as we work through the album, there will be some more involved pages, but for now Sam, I can't stop laughing. Honestly, the squeaky glue, it makes me laugh. I'm sorry, I'm like 5, aren't I? Honestly, can't take me anywhere. Right, okay. Right, I've just covered up my side 2 there, so I'm just going to put an S2 on there, and that is our first full page done. Here we go. So vertical pocket and our horizontal pocket. Perfect. Okay, let's just pop that to one side for a minute. I think I need a cup of tea again. I've had a slurp of tea. How's everybody doing? Is everybody all okay? Okay. Right. So I'm taking... I know. I need to get out more, Sam. That's what I need to do. I need to get out more. Okay. Right. Let's just tuck those up there. So here we go. Side 3, top. Okay. Here's my hinge on the left hand side. This is my lovely bit of card that well, it's paper. Well, I mean, it's paper, but it's, like I said, it's really good quality. Okay, the base is 7" by 7" for this. Okay, now what you can see, what I've done is I've gone round and I've distress inked all the way round. If any of you don't know what I mean by that, let me just show you. Okay, I'm not assuming that everybody knows some of this terminology, so I like to just go over it. You're okay, Doreen? Perfect. So I use a distress ink called Black Soot. I've got one of these little daubers with a little sponge on it. I just give it a little dab and then I just brush that along my edges. And what it does is it helps cover up the white core of the card so that when you sit it down onto your black paper, it just helps blend that better. That's the only reason why I do it. Plus it, you know, you can do it as much or as little as you like. With some of the tartan paper that I used was really quite distressed, so I could come over a lot more with the black ink rather than just on the edge, just to sort of add some extra oomph to it. Okay, and then what I've done is I've gone around and done what we call faux stitching. Some people love it, some people hate it, don't they, Teresa? Just saying that because I know how much she really loves the faux stitching. And what I want to do is just show you. Now I go round mine and do like little dashes, so I use a 0.5 micron pen, but depending on the size of the nib will determine the size of your dashes, and I literally just go along like that. However, you can do wiggles, you can do little things like that. You could do a wiggle, you could do a little kiss in there, you could do one straight long line and a couple of dots and another one a bit like the SOS. Whatever you want, you can do your own pattern round the edge. For me, and I'll be honest, for quickness, okay, I tend to just do the straight dashes going round. Now if you're unsure about doing that straight on the page, then, you know, get yourself a ruler and have a ruler there and just work your way along to get your straight line. But to be honest, I quite like the look. You know, if it's a little bit wobbly, it shows that it's handmade at the end of the day, and I think that's what you want. So there's loads of different ways of doing a little faux stitching. Or if you do want to do that, you could do wiggly lines coming down across and over, depending on your paper and what have you. You know, totally up to you. But I thought I'd just show you that while we've got 5 minutes. I'll just wait for everybody. So that's what I've done. Okay, now this one I've got here, landscape, and I'm going to put a photo mat on it. Now in my album, let me just show you the album. Where are we? You can see, oops, some of my little postcards. You can see here I've used one of these little black clips, and you've got the lovely scene in the background, lovely Scottish castle and the mountains, etc. And I just used the clip to clip on my photo mat, and that's it. That's all I do on that one. And I've got it so that you've got photo mat both sides if you wanted, or you could do a photo mat on one side and you could have journaling on the other. But that's what I've done, and I've just used a little clip. If you don't want to use a little clip, then you can just take your photo mat and stick it onto your, and actually stick it on your page. But to be honest, I'd like to see what's behind it. That's why I use my little clip. And the little clips are, I'm on my 3rd packet now. I get them from Amazon, the little mini bulldog clips. Yeah, because they're great for organising everything and, you know, for finishing touches in your album. Okay, right, so I'm going to stick this down and I'm going to use some bookbinding glue. So we're just going to do a little, no squeaky on here. It's definitely the tape that makes it squeak. Right, okay. I'll just add a little bit, that's it, a wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle. Everything's a wiggle. And I'm just going to line it up. Now, the measurements I use for any of the pattern papers are to allow you roughly a 1/8 of an inch black border around whatever piece you're cutting. Okay, so just so that you know, you know, you might want to make it slightly wider, you know, slightly bigger, the black trim. It's completely up to you, but there we go. But I think that's really lovely, and I think once you've put one of these on with a little clip, I think that's just going to look fabulous in the album. Okay, all right, so let's just take that off for a minute. There we go. Right, now I'm going to flip this over, side 4. Okay, so side 4 again is our pocket. This is a vertical pocket, so like we did before, we're coming up like so. Okay, slightly different measurements again to the other vertical pocket, but we're going to score it and treat it exactly the same. Okay, let's move those bits out the way. Do you like my new little storage thing? I thought I needed to get something because I'm always getting stuff all over the side here. It's cute, isn't it? Right, okay. So on here we are going to do 2 short sides, 1 long side. And oh, wrong scoring tool. There we go. Right, we're going to come down. And again we're doing that 1/2 inch. And again, I come around and doing the 1/2 inch. Oh, click on that. And then we're going to run the red liner tape all the way around those 3 sides. Okay. Put that on there. I'm going to pop that on there. Oops, there we go. And then finally on here, we're going to put that on. Okay, right. So I've got my lovely burnish tool. Just going to give these a rub over. Okay, so I'm going to to my corners again. So again, across to where the score lines meet, and give it a little wonky bit. And then we're going to come across again and give it a little wonky bit. Here we are. Where did that other bit go? Right, oh, there it is. Aha! Fold over our edges on our score lines, and then we're going to give those a little burnish over there, get those nice and sharp. Okay, now this is side 4, that's the top, that's where our lovely paper is. So we're going to do a vertical one, but this time we're coming over on this side, or on the left hand side of our page. Okay, and it's exactly the same, so I'm just going to turn it to the side. So basically I've now got my hinge bit and my score line for the hinge bit at the top there. Okay, and we're coming in on this edge here on the outside of our album, as it were. So exactly the same. We're going to take the red liner tape off, add our glue, Oops. It's squeaky. Squeaky glue. Perhaps I should create a glue. Call it squeaky glue. Right, okay, and I'm going to come in just a fraction from that edge and centre it onto the edge of the page there, like so. There we are. And now I'm just going to again run some tape down there. And voila, I'll just take that down there. Just snip that off. And then our last little bit is going to come over and do that. We'll stick our sides down. And can you believe it that already this evening you have made one cover, one hinge, 2 pockets for your inside covers, and you've just completed 4 sides of your page. Now I'm just going to write on there side 4 because I've partly covered it on there, but I know that's the top now because obviously I've got my page on there. And that is what I've got planned for this evening. I know I did put on for a little bit longer, but I did think I best give ourselves some extra time just in case, God forbid, we ended up losing the internet and all the rest of it. But I think just to get us into this evening, into our album, I think that's a nice little start. So you've got your 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and then we'll be moving on next week to our acetate pocket. Now the acetate window pocket is the one that I had a slight tweak to. It only came to light because, as I said earlier, I was making another album and I copied over the same page and then realised the same mistake was there. But you should have received an email through to say that there's been changes. You can go in and sort of download that. You're more than welcome, everybody. What I will say is just a little tip is as we're moving forward, okay, because on our pages, so for next week, you'll need to start considering what background pages you're going to put on, okay. So what I've got here is, right, yes, so the side 4 stacked pocket, Sam, is the little mini folio that's going to go inside, that will tuck in to your vertical pocket, and we're going to do all the portfolios and the extra little bits that pop in, because there are some portfolios that go in the pockets at the front. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. We're going to do them right at the end. Okay, so here is a little folio. This is what we'll be doing on week 5. You'll be making your folios, so for your front and back. Okay, because the reason why we're doing them last is because it's whatever paper we've got left over to use up. Okay, let's just tuck that back on there. And our little pocket, this is our little one that will go inside 4, so that's your little stacked pockets, little folio. So you'll notice that there are little folios throughout the album, but as I said, we do those right at the end, okay, because that's where we can use up all our scraps that we need to. Okay, so our preview for next week, the 4 pages that we're going to 4 or 5 pages that we're going to do next week. She says, what have you done with your stickers, Deb? Where did I put them? Have I stuck them on the underside of here? No. Oh, they'll turn up in a minute. So we're going to do the gusset pocket one. We've got this one. Now this is a pocket, but it's also got a flap. We're going to be working on that one. We're going to do our insert one. We're going to do our diagonal, and I think we're doing the gatefold as well, just to give you a heads up what's coming up. So what I would say is is the patterned papers, in case you want to get your stuff ready. You can get that one ready for your gusset pocket at the back. Don't worry about the frame, because we'll talk about the frame next week. You will need your patterned paper for this side, okay, for side 7, because that's your curved insert. All right, so you'll need to have that one pre-cut ready. All right, the diagonal one, you don't need to worry too much, you can slide that in afterwards, that's fine. And your what you've got going on inside your gatefold, you might want to consider what papers you're going to use for that. But just a little tip, okay, when you're going through any of your papers, and I'll show you what I mean, is that I go through and I work out firstly what my cover papers are going to be when I'm going through my paper packs. Okay, what my covers are going to be, and I cut them first. All right, then you need to cut everything bigger, all your big back pages. Okay, so like for example, I've got here for week 2, I've already pre-cut what's going in my inside my side 5. I've already pre-cut that. I've already cut side 7. So just have a think about that as we're moving forward, what papers you're going to be wanting. Okay, but do make sure that you cut all your big bits first, especially if you're limited to a certain amount of paper. I'm only using the summer porch, 1 pack of that, and the solids. So I need to make sure I've got enough of the bigger paper to do all my big pages with, if you see what I mean. I hope that makes sense. She says waffling on as usual. Okay, did anybody have any questions? If not, and if you're all happy, then what we can do is carry, you know, we'll finish for tonight, so you get a night off early. Next week we will be pushing through it, okay, so just to sort of prepare yourselves for that. All right, but other than that, thank you for watching. You've made a start on your album, that's really good, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. So take care. If you've got any extra questions, pop them into the comments, okay, and I can, you know, and I'll answer them on our Facebook page. And this video, in case you've missed bits of it, it will be uploaded on YouTube over the weekend. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Sam. I would expect nothing less. You're welcome, Deborah. Anyway, take care of everybody. Have a lovely weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye.